My name is Singh, and today I want to speak to those people who may be drinking this Yogi Tea. You may not know, but the creator of this Yogi Tea is Yogi Bhajan, and many of his students have accused him of abuse and even in some cases, rape. Now, I was with Yogi Bhajan's group for 30 years. I've now come out and I'm speaking about this abuse done by Yogi Bhajan because I want all to know the truth about Yogi Bhajan so that his organizations will not profit and spread this cult that Yogi Bhajan created. Now, let's look at some of the evidence which proves what I'm saying about Yogi Bhajan and his corrupt activities. This is an article in the Eugene Register Guard. It's titled Yogi's Legacy in Question. One of his lead secretaries, Premka Khalsa, sued Yogi Bhajan in 1984. She says here in this article that she was raped by Yogi Bhajan and that Yogi Bhajan heaped abuses on her and other students. Is this the kind of person and organization that you want to support by buying this Yogi Tea? Really think carefully about it. Millions of dollars in profits are made by this Yogi Tea company, and it goes towards supporting this cult around Yogi Bhajan. Let's look at some more of the evidence. These are the lawsuits filed by Premka and other secretaries of Yogi Bhajan. Now, I was around then, in 1984, doing security for Yogi Bhajan. And I thought it was odd that Yogi Bhajan would not go to the depositions, refused to go to the depositions in these lawsuits. I talked to the lead attorney for Premka in 2009, and he told me that Yogi Bhajan would always get an excuse from his doctors, so he couldn't go to these depositions and tell the truth. And I know for a fact that Yogi Bhajan was well enough to go to La Scala, Beverly Hills shopping, all of these things just right around that time, because I was on security and I know for a fact that he could have gone to these depositions. But the thing that struck me is that he doesn't want to tell the truth. That's what came out. So let's see what else Yogi Bhajan lied about. Now, many of you probably know that Yogi Bhajan created a form of Kundalini Yoga, and you can see on the tea boxes that they've got some kriyas there, as they call them, which show some yoga exercises that Yogi Bhajan created. Now, you may think these are for health and fitness, but I'm here to tell you that Yogi Bhajan made up these exercises in order to seduce people into his cult. Many of the exercises have gong meditation, loud gong meditations, heavy breathing, this breath of fire that is highly promoted by Yogi Bhajan and now his cult organizations, gets people into a trance-like state. I call it Kundalini crack. And when I was in 3HO, the emphasis was on doing this yoga and getting more and more into it. You'd be totally worn out and tired. When Yogi Bhajan would do these layouts, he would do these hypnotic type of voice layovers that would get us into this state that would be more vulnerable to be seduced into his cult. And I believe this is why many of the people you'll meet in 3HO are so defensive about anything that is critical of Yogi Bhajan. So really look at this closely and ask yourself, should these people be so defensive? I think it's because they are part of this cult around Yogi Bhajan, and Yogi Bhajan still has a spell over them. That's my belief. Now, this article by Philip Gillespie goes in depth about the history of Yogi Bhajan's yoga. Philip Gillespie is a doctor, PhD at a university, and he wrote in this article interviewing many of the Yogi Bhajan followers. So you can read for yourself online. I put a link to this from MAHARAJ to MAHAN Tantra, the construction of Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga. And he goes in depth about this history about Yogi Bhajan and interviewing these people there. So do some research about these histories of Yogi Bhajan's yoga. Now, Yogi Bhajan's people censor a lot of things that are critical of them. Everything, basically. They don't allow any kind of criticism against Yogi Bhajan. They censor a lot of my articles, which is, again, an indication it's a cult. Here's myself in the 1980s with the brown coat on, Yogi Bhajan there. And ironically, he's with the women. I think it shows kind of his leanings towards this sex and abuse of power. I wrote a book, Confessions of an American Sikh, which tells my experiences with Yogi Bhajan and gives you an in-depth look at the inner workings of Yogi Bhajan's organization and what I experienced when I was on security with Yogi Bhajan 24/7 back in the 1980s. It's available on Amazon, by the way. It's only 99 cents. And it's received a lot of good reviews. And I encourage you to read it. If you want a free copy, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just email me and I'll send you a free PDF copy of the book. Now you can see here, Yogi Bhajan encouraged people to meditate on his picture. You can see his picture there in the background. And in fact, this was a requirement in the ashram, to meditate on Yogi Bhajan's picture. And you can see how that would instill this cult-like thinking in people's minds. And I have an audio here, a lecture of Yogi Bhajan, where he actually specifically tells people to meditate on his picture. He calls it Guru Yoga. So again, is this what you really want to be supporting when you buy Yogi Tea? Let's listen to this audio from Yogi Bhajan lecture. Says, look into my eyes, Guru Yogi will do.
I am a humble instrument. I do what you have to do. So my qualification is that I'm a little matchstick. I light the fire and you become all light. That truth you have to understand. That is all. Everybody has to live to the higher consciousness.
So you can see here, Yogi Bhajan tells people himself to meditate on his picture. And this is a real indication of a cult, I feel, that Yogi Bhajan would have people meditate on his picture like that. Yogi Bhajan lived a luxurious lifestyle. And I'll point out, too, that this person here, this Hari Jivan, was charged by the Federal Trade Commission in a scheme of fraud scheme and for selling gemstones. So I worked with this Hari Jivan in Los Angeles in what they call a boiler room. So I know Yogi Bhajan got us into these fraudulent activities and many, even criminal activities we'd gotten into, and I'll tell about all that in my book. And then the Yogi Bhajan lived off the profits from these criminal activities. So I'm angry about it, and I want other people to know what a fraud Yogi Bhajan was, so they don't get trapped into this 3HO organization that continues to try to pull people into this cult, this dangerous cult. Yogi Bhajan wore these robes and huge gems, and you can see this animal skin here is wearing. Didn't think anything of killing animals for their fur. Anyway, the Thiacho people worship Yogi Bhajan, prostrated his death place. They're creating this 10-foot high idol of Yogi Bhajan now that they'll be unveiling at the 10th anniversary of his death. You can see here they're sculpting it now, and they'll put bronze on it. They'll cost thousands of dollars. I called some sculptors, and they said it could cost up to $50,000 to create that bronze sculpture. Just think how many good things could be used with that $50,000 rather than creating this idol of Yogi Bhajan. They emulate Yogi Bhajan. This is a Gurbachan Singh who looks just like Yogi Bhajan now. The same robes, the same jewelry, same body language they use, same voice that they use as Yogi Bhajan used. So it's all part of this cult. And again, Yogi Bhajan is the creator of this Yogi Tea, and when you buy this tea, you're supporting this cult organization. So think about it and really investigate what this Yogi Bhajan organizations are about. The more people, they do the yoga class of Yogi Bhajan's picture above them, again, prostrating at his death place. They'll be doing a lot of this in Espanola when this 10th anniversary of his death comes. They worship these golden idols of yogis there, again, prostrating his death place. They're in Espanola, New Mexico, where his headquarters are. They take pieces of his garments and sell them like artifacts, like the Catholics did in the Middle Ages. All part, they think it has magical powers, like a talisman, when they take some of his garments. It's really, all shows you how this is a cult. And again, the Yogi Tea goes into supporting this. Millions of dollars go to this. Yogi Bhajan painted this. He gave me this painting back in the 80s. You can see just how wacky and crazy his thinking is. And one of the things I've thought about why Yogi Bhajan was so wacky is that he took this nutmeg. Some of you may know that nutmeg in high doses can cause delusions. I did an article about it here on my website, gurmukhyoga.com. And I say here, I've recently been discussing on the internet with a former student of Yogi Bhajan who claims that Yogi Bhajan took one whole nutmeg every day. This would certainly explain Yogi Bhajan's bizarre ideation, unstable moods, and word salad lectures. So this may explain some of the craziness that when he took this one whole nutmeg every day. And he encouraged people to take this nutmeg. I remember he said to put it in coffee and things like that. Another way for people to get it seduced into his cult. That's what I feel. And you can read more about this on this Wacko World of Yogi Bhajan, which has many of the former students of Yogi Bhajan's comments and posts there. So one person says, let's say you owned a health food business that used a spice with known toxicity at high doses. Would you include the portrait of words of wisdom of somebody who recommended abusing the health food spice on your boxed products? You're talking about this image of Yogi Bhajan here on the Yogi Tea boxes. Yogi Bhajan's Yogi Tea and health foods come to mind. There's a Food and Drug Administration database for all kinds of poisonous substances. Nutmeg is on that list. Bhajan should be there too. Now, I agree with that. Bhajan was definitely toxic. So let's get back to these paintings Yogi Bhajan did. These crazy paintings. Now, many of them were very phallic and sexual in nature. You can see here, he's written power here with this big penis. And it's really something that you have to wonder about in a spiritual leader that would do this kind of thing. Yogi Bhajan gave me these paintings. I had an art gallery back in the 80s. And he wanted me to make prints of these and distribute them. Thank God I didn't. Anyway, he's written ego here with this big penis here. And it shows that Yogi Bhajan was really into this tantric sex and into this abuse of sexual powers. He's written power here again. He's got some small figure of a woman there. He's got love around here. It's just really demented is all I can say. Now Yogi Bhajan people sell this jewelry too, and they package it as tantric jewelry, make big profits from it, and Yogi Bhajan was really into gems and jewelry, as you can tell, selling them. The same Hari Jivan that was charged by the Federal Trade Commission is trying to sell those tantric jewels too. So the people they're all about money and getting your money, and Yogi Tea is another symptom of that. They sell their spiritual names. They ask you for a donation at the end, $108 to get a spiritual name from them. They sell these Yogi Bhajan T-shirts, these other T-shirts. They call it trending Yogi Bhajan T-shirts. So it's all about money with the 3HO people. And I think this Yogi Tea was about $4 or $5, and you can't say that there's really that much tea. I bought similar teas for like $1. And so I think that they're way overcharging for something that is just a propped up image of this corrupt yogi. Now you can see millions of dollars go into these Yogi Bhajan organizations from profits from this Yogi Tea. You can see them all listed here. Now, one thing I want to point out, you may know I'm a Sikh, a part of the Sikh religion. And one of the things that I'm particularly alarmed at is how Yogi Bhajan and also the 3HO people now use images of the Sikh gurus on their tea boxes. This is particularly disturbing and shouldn't be done. They shouldn't be using these things for commercial profit. And it gives, I think, Sikhs a bad image. And it also is really bad that they are using these images, like I said, for commercial profit. This is our most holy shrine, the Darbar Sahib, Westerners would call it the Golden Temple. And you can see how they have this person biting into this. Like, it's very disrespectful of Sikhs and the Sikh religion. So this type of thing should be stopped. And, you know, if you buy this Yogi Tea, you're supporting this type of real disrespect against the Sikh religion. You can see here, this is a blow-up of this image of Yogi Bhajan on the tea box. This is another blow-up of the box there with the yoga exercises. Now, the Yogi Bhajan people were involved in a lawsuit with each other. Okay, they were fighting over these billions of dollars from the profits of Yogi Tea and some of the other Yogi Bhajan organizations and businesses. So they sued each other. And it was a big row they had for several years, and they reached the settlement with some of the people. And interesting enough, part of the settlement was to not criticize Yogi Bhajan. You can see it right here, this non-disparagement agreement, where they all agreed not to disparage Yogi Bhajan. So that prevented anybody from coming out with the truth about Yogi Bhajan and his corruption. So fortunately, I'm not under any such agreement. So I don't have to worry about that. Anyway, the other part of this agreement was for Sikhs, I think is particularly important, how Yogi Bhajan has to teach the Sikh religion, and the technology of Kundalini Yoga has to be all taught as taught by Yogi Bhajan. So anything that would be contradictory to what Yogi Bhajan teaches, the Yogi Bhajan people would not follow. Anyway, I hope you view some of my other videos, read my book, and do some research on the internet. Talk to some other people that were with Yogi Bhajan who can tell you the truth about this. And think of twice about buying this Yogi Tea. I think that by analyzing the information that I've given here, you'll see that Yogi Bhajan was really a fraud, and that it's not a good idea to support his Yogi Tea. Thank you for your time.